in the building. Lauren Conlin, I appreciate you coming on in. Lauren, real quick, introduce the audience. I'm going to introduce the audience to you. So basically, you're a reporter and a host, and you do pop culture and true crime. I know you got a YouTube channel. Where'd you get started? How'd you get into this? Wait, are you muted? Hold on. Are you?
Yes, I was muted.
Oh, there you go. There you go. All right, bet. All right, how'd you get started in this whole thing? And what do you got going on?
Well, thanks for having me. I used to work in radio. I did news for a radio station, entertainment. I used to work for a reporter in New York City who is well known for doing red carpets. He's got these big bushy eyebrows. His name is George Whipple. I used to do red carpets for him. And then one day I just kind of branched off on my own. I started freelancing and freelance podcasting, reporting, getting all these different types of gigs. And I really kind of made my way from strictly entertainment to pop culture, true crime, because let's face it, no one really cares about a celebrity unless they get in trouble or there's a scandal. Right? I mean, it's true. Nobody.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And it is kind of exhausting being on the red carpet and just kissing so much ass. Am I allowed to say that? I'm so sorry.
Please.
Okay, all right.
The more you cuss,
no.
The more you cuss, the better. The more you cuss, the better for me.
Well, it's just like, I love the movie. Was it so fun to make this movie? Did you guys all get along backstage? And or you know what I mean? Like, it just it wasn't for me after a while. And so I have just such an interest in psychology and the human brain and trials. Truly, I like to follow these. And so I started my own podcast. I recently started my YouTube channel, Pop Crime TV. And so here we are.
Well, again, I'm sorry I came on a couple seconds late here, but definitely
BPS.
It's my fault. You're right.
BPS.
It's definitely BPS. But a fan of yours. I've been following you on Twitter, and this your breakdowns of this trial and this case is chef's kiss. So it's an honor to have you on here. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you
let's no doubt. I can't wait. We'll make this a weekly segment. I know you're off Friday, Monday because of the holiday, right? They're letting court out. So how did you get in? How did you get a seat? How did you get in here?
I mean, I have a press pass. You can apply as someone, a credentialed member of the press, if you cover a lot of these trials or these events in New York City. But you don't just automatically get in with a press pass. I've been waking up pretty much every morning at 5:30. I go down to the courthouse, I wait in line, and then they have 21 spots in the actual courtroom for press. And then if you don't make it into there, you get into the overflow room, which is fine. You see a screen and you can actually hear better. But they also have a section, I don't know how many people are allowed in the public, but there are members of the public who get in line at 3 a.m. to try to get in. But I had a line sitter the first day, and it was heartbreaking. This person got out of line. When the line started moving, they panicked. And I was like, I was so mad because it's you had one job. You literally had one job. And it was just devastating. Yeah, I did not get into the courtroom that day. So now it's calmed down a little bit. So I'm kind of just getting there, myself. But
so let's get into brass tacks. Give us the breakdown on what's going on. So it seems to be heavy, a lot
going on, David.
It seems like a lot of this is on Cassie's, I guess the victim side of it. But I got lawyers myself and dealing with other things and Netflix and all this other stuff. And they're talking to me why isn't she being discussed as the accomplice? She was there 13, 14 plus years in this whole thing. At some point she knew something, right? Just to start right there, where are we at with that side of it? It seems like they're putting her on her own pedestal.
Well, I mean, I don't know if anything you just said totally made sense. Just kidding.
So all right, let me start over. No, I love it. Let me start over.
I love it.
Is she the victim in this, or is she an accomplice?
So, I mean, personally, she is 100% a victim of domestic violence, assault, battery, grooming. The list goes on. Nobody should be treated the way Cassie Ventura was treated. If you guys have daughters, you you understand, sisters, whatever, you want to lunge at this guy.
No doubt.
For
no
the
doubt.
drink. Yeah. And I know everybody agrees on that. I mean, no doubt, literally.
100%.
It's heartbreaking, and it's been heartbreaking to watch. But what I think people are going to be really surprised about, people not in the courtroom, is that this case is not as black and white as we all thought. I mean, for me anyway, at this point, it's only day 9. I do not see 12 jurors unanimously agreeing that Cassie Ventura was sex trafficked, commercially sex trafficked. However, we are on day 9, right? We're very early on, but I think that it's going to be tougher for the government than we initially thought. And also, something that I think is I guess maybe important for the defense is that after the video was released of Cassie, the CNN video, she made this really heartfelt Instagram post thanking everyone for their support. And she said something at the end. She said, domestic violence is the issue. So that right there is, I think, going to ring in the jury's minds if the defense puts this in their closing argument. Look, the victim of the alleged sex trafficking actually said herself, domestic violence is the issue. So I think that's huge. And I don't think enough people are necessarily talking about that. However, Diddy's a piece of shit, right? Like, I don't want to, help the guy out because, it's very obvious he's a bad guy. But the statute of limitations was up when this beatdown happened, when a lot of this stuff happened. So it's a tough case. You're seeing Cassie obviously say certain things via texts and emails that, listen, I don't want my text read when I was 21 years old, saying things to an older man, trying to placate to him because that's what trauma survivors do. They've got these, this trauma bonding. They've been groomed. They also don't feel like they're getting love when they're not being abused. So Cassie was in this awful spot, but was it sex trafficking? I don't know. Right now, I can't say, but I think this is going to be one of those cases that, of course it's up to the jury, but I think it's going to be just all on the opinion of the jury based on the circumstantial evidence that they saw, No,
well, 100%. And I feel like, I try to keep my ear to like the social media streets and just, the coffee room, so to speak, and just kind of get everyone's opinion. And one thing that keeps getting brought up is the fact of it feels like to this point that a lot of the information and stories that have been pushed out has been more so to just, how do I say it? To just kind of show how like bad of a guy Diddy was and like how freaky, nasty, or whatever he was. But from a legal standpoint, there hasn't been anything that seems to like stick that, okay, that's, to your point, that's sex trafficking or that's this or that. It's like, it's just showing how wild of a person, bad of a person he is. Is that fair or no?
No, I mean, I would say majority, yes, it's completely sensationalized. So at the end of the day, I do my breakdowns, which I'm telling you pretty much what went down from both sides. I don't really give a lot of opinions. And then I go look at the headlines, and the headline for the day is that he took ecstasy pills with Obama's face on it. And I'm like, maybe I said that, maybe I didn't, but I didn't really give a shit at the time. What I will say is there have been a couple things that, we heard that he essentially extorted Cassie's parents for $20,000 over releasing these alleged freak off videos or sex tapes. So, however, we know that he gave the money back. And we didn't see this demand. We see an email Cassie wrote her mother saying that Diddy was threatening her. We see Cassie's mother's testimony saying he wanted this money. So again, I feel like it's going to be up to the jury. If we don't see the receipts, if we don't see whatever, it's going to be witness testimony only. And as of right now, they are all very credible. But again, I think a lot of people might be thinking here, is Diddy being targeted? Are these charges is this a witch hunt?
Right.
Hollywood.
But on the other hand, like he has created this culture of fear, this threatening culture where he seems to have kept people under his watch and said, I'm going to release this about you. I'm going to dangle this in front of the public because I record everything at my parties. I have this on you. And that's blackmail, and that's tied to RICO. So it's, we're getting there.
I was going to ask you that. So that's where the racketeering and all this is coming in at. Is that where the RICO part kind of starts and ends as far as being labeled a RICO case?
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to hear from some of his employees, 2 assistants, which I don't think their testimony necessarily helped the RICO, I guess. I mean, they talked about going on drug runs for Diddy, and this is why they got a proffer agreement and they got immunity. But even when they went to pick up these drugs, you know, we're talking like 8 balls and stuff. We're not talking about like mass you know, these mass amounts of cocaine, massive amounts or anything like that. And even the defense said, you know, they're going through the indictment and they're like, well, you know, they found these drugs during this raid in March of 2024, but they're actually destroying the drugs because there's such a small amount. So I feel like, yeah, the more employees that come forward. Oh, I do think we're supposed to hear from Capricorn Clark, one of his assistants / turned marketing director, who was good friends with Cassie, on Tuesday. And she was also the one that was in the car when he broke into Kid Cudi's house. So I think that she's going to have a lot to say about an alleged criminal enterprise and certain things that went on behind closed doors.
And I'm so glad you brought up Kid Cudi, because that was going to be my follow-up question. You kind of mentioned that, you know, Diddy has created this culture of fear, obviously on the blackmailing side, but also in his actions. Can you what can you tell us about, you know, Kid Cudi, you know, going on the stand, and I guess what all did he share and or confirm?
Lauren, before you answer, is that the last piece to yesterday's deal? Was he the end to the before the weekend?
He wasn't.
Okay,
he wasn't the end. Yeah, but I mean, after Kid Cudi, it was a hotel manager. Again, that was just corroborating that baby oil was spilled all over the floor and candle wax was everywhere. I mean, that
baby
was
oil seems to be a huge deal with this case. I've heard baby oil so many times. It's like, is it like, damn?
Play a drinking game. You could literally play a drinking game, and I would be on the floor at the end of the day. Namely, week 1, week 2 hasn't been as bad. But still, it's like, okay, we get it. The man likes baby oil. And I think that like everyone talking about how, oh, there's GHB in it. And so when I will do these videos, people will look at me like I'm the stupid one. Don't you know they're talking about it because there's GHB? Guys, I don't think so. These assistants went to go buy it and deliver it to the hotel room. We're seeing drugs seized from Diddy's houses and from these hotel rooms. Not once have I heard of GHB, just saying. But it's early. Right. Or we haven't heard of eyedroppers. People say, oh, you know, drop the GHB in each, you know, it's just so crazy. So we heard from a hotel worker after that. And then we heard from, who was it? It was, a makeup artist that worked with Cassie, testified about a beat down that she heard, but didn't see. And then, yeah, it was Kid Cudi. But Kid Cudi was, I mean, he was a good witness. He was credible. You could tell he did not want to be there. There were some really funny moments, I will say. I mean, really? He you know.
He walked in with a cigarette, Smitty. He walked in with a cigarette. I was laughing.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Not into court, but not outside of it.
Yeah, the Marlboro. That's hilarious. Okay.
Well, yeah. And so just the questioning from the government, they would say, you know, what was your reaction to your car being blown up? And he's like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, he just would say to things like that. And then when he found out that, or Capricorn Clark essentially called Kid Cudi and Cassie from the car, Diddy's car, in his driveway. And she's like, look, he's in your house. He broke in with somebody else. And Kid Cudi leaves the hotel with Cassie that he's at. And he talks about how he called Diddy and he's like, motherfucker, are you in my apartment? Are you in my house? And he's saying all this on the stand. Yeah, it was. And, you know, what I thought wasn't great for the government, Brian Steele did the cross-examination and he was Young Thug's attorney. He almost went to Fulton County for the weekend, you know, was almost held in contempt during this trial. Damn. So this guy is hardcore. But he got Kid Cudi to say, I believe twice, that he and Mr. Combs felt played by Cassie because Cassie didn't fully disclose that she was still kind of on again with Diddy. Kid Cudi didn't know that. And now you've got Diddy saying, oh, you're dating him. Well, you know, we both felt played. But yeah, he filed a police report for the break-in. And then a month later, even after Cassie broke up with him, a Molotov cocktail was thrown into his car and he filed a police report there. And Brian Steele said, well, didn't you know that the LAPD, they only pulled female DNA off of some of this evidence? And Kid Cudi was like, well, I didn't know that. So this coming week, we're going to hear from someone in the LAPD, and someone from the LAFD. So I'm kind of hoping we see police reports and just different reports that he filed. And will we see Shaun Combs? Will we see this name, or will this just be a general report? And if so, it's going to be up to the jury.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, JB. Now I was gonna say the kid, like, does he not have a camera outside of his house? Like, does he?
So he mentioned that he said that when he got to his house, it was pointed down. So this was during the break-in. He's like, yep, it was pointed down. So yeah.
Damn. Let me ask you this, to your best, I guess, estimation. Why is this not filmed? Like, Johnny Depp, OJ Simpson. Like, why is this not huge TV?
Federal. You can't film a federal.
So it's because it's RICO. Yeah. That's it.
No, just federal.
Period.
Trials in general. Period. Yeah, and New York. So. They don't film in New York either. So.
Got you. I know everyone's been. I saw it on I saw it on Rogan, and a couple others were like, "This would be great TV." Blah blah blah. And I figured it was federal, but I was like. It's funny because this will be huge TV. Let me ask you something real quick about this whole case. Next week, you said it's going to be big. I want to just get your what's his demeanor like in court?
So it depends. I think I shared the other day. He kind of comes in pretty happy. He hugs all his lawyers. He smiles. But the other day, he kind of turned around to the public section of the courtroom and he gave like this heart. And this lady, like, who was sitting there was like giving it back to him. And I'm like, have you not been listening to what he does to, like, calm down, lady. Like, are you here? Are we at the same, it's funny, but it's been really mind blowing to watch some of his assistants on the stand and how they still seem to have this rapport, because the assistants kind of like give him a head nod when they're walking out and they're done their testimony. And he's kind of done the same thing. And George Kaplan, the assistant that we heard from yesterday and the day before, he actually said that he still, uses some of the things that Diddy taught him in terms of like work ethic to this day. And I'm like, this is a government witness. Come on now, and these guys also, this assistant and the one prior, since they bought drugs for Diddy and since they kind of handled some of these guns and these scenarios, they were given immunity. They were given proffer agreements to testify.
Wow. No,
yeah,
that's insane. Let me ask you, okay, to that same point, how was, I guess, Cassie's demeanor when, while she was, in trial, and just, seeing her, did she look confident? Did she look concerned? Did she look what was your read on her?
I mean, I have to say, she's a queen. She's so pregnant. I would have probably tackled people at that point in my pregnancy if I had to get up there and relive the most humiliating moments, the most traumatic moments of my life. I mean, text messages from when she was 21, can you guys imagine that? Your sex messages from when you were 20. I mean, and you
I don't want my messages out now. I don't want none of my messages out.
Okay. Thank you. Right. 2 toddlers at home. She's this big. It's just like, man, she was so composed. She was so poised. She was soft spoken, but she, I thought she did a great job for all that it was.
No doubt.
All things considered. Let me ask you this. Like, obviously, like, you said a lot. Like, go back and look at your videos. You broke down everything. Is there one, like, if there's one thing that just stands out, like the craziest shit that you've heard so far, in your opinion, like, what would that thing? Because I've seen things where, and they're getting to the details of some of the freak offs and rubbing certain things on Diddy's nipples, and there's a lot of stuff.
That was bad for me, dude. That was bad for me.
Me too. I heard that. I said, there's no way this is like and I don't try to judge people, but like, that's some crazy shit. I'm sorry. That's crazy, Lauren.
I feel like we didn't need to know a lot of this. I mean, it's been so bizarre to have to hear about his preferences. I mean, the other thing that was like, I'm like laughing, and I look around, no one's laughing. I'm like, all right, sorry. But no, just like there was a moment when, and sorry, I have to jump in like 2 minutes, but there was a moment that he describes it, and we hear all this stuff about him being gay. I don't know. We haven't heard anything about any homosexual, activity, but there was an instance where Cassie, or no, it was one of the escorts describing this, Daniel Phillip, where he witnessed Cassie doing something to Diddy, like oral on Diddy, while another escort is having sex with her. And Daniel Phillip described this moment where Diddy thought that escort was looking him in the eye while this was happening. And he's like, don't look me in the eye. And the guy's like, I'm not. And he's like, you looking at me in the eye. And then he describes like him getting up and Cassie jumping to the corner and them getting into like this, and the guy's like, I'm not looking you in the eye. I'm not. So I told my husband, and my husband's like, yeah, because he doesn't want anyone to, like, he's got that closeted gay thing where like the tough guy's like, I'm not gay. You know what I mean? Like, so that was also kind of shocking to me. Where I was like,
let me ask you real quick before you get out of here. I can't thank you enough. Yeah. I look forward to this.
Let me ask you.
Lauren London, is she going to be involved in this? Is she going to be in this deal at all? Is she going to get called in? Anything about that?
I mean, we'll see, because we don't have a witness list. A lot of these trials, you get the witness list ahead of time. We only kind of find out who's going to testify the day before. And that's if you the jury is dismissed. And if you kind of hang around for a few minutes, they discuss these things. So that's how we found out on Tuesday that Kid Cudi, they're like, oh, and it should be Scott Mescudi this week. And everybody was like, oh. And then you could see all the reporters and the journalists just try to book it out the door to be the first one to report it. And I think it was Complex that got the exclusive on that. He made it right out the door. But you know what? I'm actually interviewing Shooter McGavin, Christopher McDonald at 11:40 about I'm very excited. I'm a big Happy Gilmore fan, so
number two's out. Yeah, coming out.
Hey, so we'll
I thank you so much. I can't thank you enough.
So much. Great.
Enjoy the Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy it, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Yeah, for sure. Bye, guys. Thanks for having me.
Bye.